potential pitfalls and opportunities for serious clashing between India and Pakistan in the utter chaos that the West has left in Afghanistan. And it is nothing but that, utter chaos. And what I see developing slightly, anyone please feel free in the open questions to contradict me, is the emergence of a 21st century great game in Afghanistan. The Great Game was the name given to the sort of vicarious tussling between the British and the Russians initially, with walk-on parts by the Kaiser, Napoleon, all sorts of people, and then developed in the 1980s as a sort of, in the dying embers of the Cold War. A new Great Game here. But I see a third generation of the Great Game developing in Afghanistan between India and Pakistan. Now, my experience in Afghanistan, I did 3 tours fighting with Afghan soldiers against the Taliban right down in the south. But then I did a last tour, because of being able to speak Dari, I did a final tour in Kabul, again working with the Afghan National Army, more in a training role in their academy there. And I saw 2 developments in this. One, I think slightly more real. The first was the West's, and because of the West, call it a government if you will, the Afghan government's view of the nefarious hand of Pakistan everywhere. The bogeyman that was Pakistan. And I say it's imagined because I did not see it. I did not see it. Time and time again, we were told to look out for the influence of even just northern Pakistani fighters, or indeed the hand of the ISI. It was never, ever there. My loyal interpreter for 2 tours, who was an expert in language, we would go out and fight every day, and the nature of the way the Taliban communicated and the nature of our communications, we could listen to them. We would listen to them talk us into the fight. They would chat. It's like a sort of game of communications chess. Not one piece of Urdu, not one Pakistani accent, not one piece of evidence for the ISI colonel who was controlling events. It just didn't exist. It was in the minds of other people. Now, for me, I would not judge it if it did exist. I think it is only normal, right and proper to keep a weather eye on the events going on in your northern neighbour. To use a Afghan saying that's come into English, to have a dog in that fight. I don't know whether there was any involvement there, but it seems sane to me. Was undeniable. I do not, I'm a soldier. It is not my place to comment. What the provenance of that money was, I do not know, but there was buckets of it in Kabul. But more worrying was attitude. The attitude that was amongst the Afghan army that everything is Pakistan's fault. When is your arm? A conversation I had with one, they were developing, when they wanted our mentoring to finish, when they wanted to go. We feel as an Afghan army we'll be at the right level when we can invade Pakistan. So, whoa, that's quite a harsh chat. Where's this coming from? And there seemed to be, somebody was generating a view that Pashtunistan, whatever you want to call it, was a good idea for Afghanistan. Somehow, the northern bit of Pakistan belonged to Afghanistan. But somehow they weren't blaming Durand. They weren't blaming us for drawing moot lines on pieces of paper. They were blaming Pakistan. And this sort of thing was more tangible. I'm not, as I said, equally understandable, but it certainly was more apparent. So I felt that this increasing Indian influence in Kabul, this alleged possible increasing Pakistani influence in the south. To take it further, do I think this is dangerous? Yes, I think it is dangerous. I think it's dangerous for 2 reasons. Because Afghanistan, the great game that was played in the mid-19th century and then at the end of the 20th century, Afghanistan is a more volatile and more dangerous place now. It is on its knees. The number of smiling British, American generals who've never had a piece of lead round their ears telling you how great it is, or met somebody from DFID justifying the thousands of money, millions of pounds going in there. They do not leave their little safe havens. They exist within their own echo chambers of everything's okay and we've done a good job. It's chaos. And I think that is potentially a much more dangerous canvas to play any 21st century great game between India and Pakistan. The second thing is, I think there will be no international restrainers. If this becomes a way to vent any aggression from either country, nobody's going back in there, I don't think, from the West. I don't think anyone has the appetite to re-intervene in any way, even to put a moderating hand on anyone's shoulder. So I think that is potentially dangerous. And I'd just like to finish, from my own views, I just don't think it's worth it. I don't see how, I've heard the arguments of a sort of natural resources hub that could be important. I don't see it. There's no, there's no pipeline, there's no huge wealth there. And I think on the new defence landscape, actually, the physical occupation of somewhere, I think is far, far less important. And I'm not sure actually how much it would improve either side. If we took if I was a hawkish Pakistani or a hawkish Indian, I'm not sure how better my deck of cards are with Afghanistan in it. So from someone who's involved in the mess that is left there, I would just sort of plead both sides, perhaps leave it alone with a bit of warm advice, and that's it.